Episode 79. So Kat asks Jacob, does he have anything on the crazy bitch Leslie, aka Cray Cray, in regards to the DNA testing? And he tells her they're still waiting. And so Cray Cray happens to be at Orthy Jeans, and she has a hoodie on trying to disguise herself. So she walks over to the table and asks Kat, what crazy bitch is she talking about? And you know who she talking about. Next, so Bill was the person Vernon was talking to on the phone when he said that he's back in reference to Kenny. So Vernon tells Bill they need to discuss the problem, which is Kenny. And Bill tells him he's speaking French because ain't no we. He tells him Kenny is his problem. Next, Eva starts her first day at Ted's practice, and Ted goes on this tangent of how Kat handled things when she worked for him. And he didn't read the room or Eva because Eva becomes intimidated and she tells him she's not Kat and walks out. And that's Eva's problem. She gets frustrated with something, she just walks out instead of taking a deep breath and thinking before she makes a move. Next, this racist ass Kenny is getting on my nerves with all of this Martin's kind talk. That's what I like about this soap opera though, because it's realistic. Because you know there's Kennys out there, especially here in America. And when you're dealing with black affluent people, that's something that you're definitely going to run into. I don't know because I'm not affluent, but I assume, I mean, come on now, they would have to. So if you look back in history, that's how the Black Wall Streets were destroyed and many of the race riots in the 1900s, because there were racist whites who thought black folks were living better than them. So I'm done with the history lesson, but I had to throw that in because that's what when Kenny started talking about your kind and with that southern accent, it kind of took me back to some of those incidents in history where black affluent people were doing well, and because they were doing well, it intimidated the poor whites. And so then a lot of the race riots and things that happened in the 1900s, that was the beginning of all of that. Kenny goes on to ask Martin, does he remember that night? And Martin tells him just say what he has to say. And racist ass Kenny basically tells him he likes playing with him. Of course he do. He gets off on it. I think it's the power for him. Just having the power over this black congressman, it gets him off. So Kenny goes on to mention Samantha and how she's getting prettier by the day. So he's basically letting Martin know that he's keeping tabs on him. Next, Vernon tells Bill he was there from the beginning regarding that night. And if he falls, so does Bill. So Bill tells Vernon he's always been the Dupree's personal janitor. And I think this is about the umpteenth time you've heard Bill since the story begins. Well, since this soap opera began, talk about how he felt like he was an errand boy for the Duprees, how he felt like he did their dirty work. And you could tell there's a lot of resentment there. And I don't know if the resentment is because he didn't grow up affluent, or he felt like they never looked at him as an equal. And probably not, because Vernon does mention the first time that Bill came through the gates, he had an old car and he didn't know why Danny was involved with him. So there it is, that kind of snootiness of looking down on Bill because he wasn't affluent. So I think too, maybe the resentment that Bill felt from being bossed around by Vernon affected the way that he felt about Danny. It started to jade his feelings towards Danny, and therefore leading him to cheat and marry Haley. So Bill wants an apology from Vernon regarding how the Duprees have been treating him and Haley. And I think that's a bit much, especially in regards to Haley. But anyway, next, Jacob asks Cray Cray what does she want, and Cray Cray tells Cat to let the real detective talk. And that's a good one, because I've been saying that from the beginning. Black Nancy Drew needs to sit down and let the real detective do his job, because she's getting really irritating. So Leslie crazy ass is going with a they planted evidence accusation to get out of the evidence that Jacob is testing. So this is what Black Nancy Drew don't get. Crazy know the law. I'm telling you, she's crazy. She know what she can get away with. Next, Vernon tells Bill that Haley earned the disrespect she got from Danny and her daughters. And I agree with Vernon, because that was dirty what Haley did. She was best friends with Naomi, and then you go and get with your best friend's dad and break up her parents' marriage. I mean, that's this low down dirty. So what does she expect? Of course, Danny, Naomi, and Chelsea are going to treat her a certain way. Look at what she did. So Bill tells Vernon if he wants him to clean up his mess once again, what's in it for him? And now that sounds like Bill, because he didn't get his reputation for nothing. He's always looking at what's in it for him. Next, Martin tells Kenny he's a backwoods nobody trying to squeeze a congressman. And Martin tells him to name his price. And Kenny says $100,000. And Martin says, oh, I'll write a check now. And it's like, Martin, wait 1 minute. You too eager. You know dang well that this old racist Kenny ain't gonna let you get away with something that easy, or something that you can hurry up, dismiss him with. No, he's gonna make it harder for you and become like a nuisance, well, more than a nuisance, because he's getting off on it. Next, Leslie's delusional ass proposes to Jacob and Kat to work with her to find who hurt Laura. And this is a joke. I mean, this lady, I don't know, I don't get her, because she has to know that everybody knows that she's the one who hurt Laura. So it's like, who are you fooling? Next, this ignorant fool Kenny had the audacity to tell Martin he wants his reparations. I just couldn't believe it. There are just no words. So he tells Martin he wants him to fear him and threatens Martin. And that's what I said. He gets off on that. He wants to have Martin intimidated by him because he can't equate him in regards to class. So he wants to have some type of power over him by making him feel inferior by fear. So Martin tells him he has people that will make him disappear, and Kenny goes on to tell him if he has so much power, why hasn't anything happened to him? And that's Kenny just being arrogant. So Kenny tells him to keep the payments coming and answer his calls, and he will keep his secret. And Martin's crazy if he believes anything this racist says. I wouldn't believe a thing that comes out of his mouth. Next, Bill tells Vernon it was the worst mistake of his life getting in bed with the Duprees. And Vernon reminds Bill, who introduced him to every power player in the city. And Bill tells him that he earned his place. Not in Vernon's book. So Vernon tells him he earned nothing without his influence. And he goes on to say he wouldn't have a law firm without Dupree influence, which is true. And Vernon says he owns interest on his debt. So basically, Bill will never pay off. what Vernon feels like he owes him in regards to how he jump started his career and influence in Fairmount. So Vernon tells him the issue could escalate and he might have to include Bill with the sinking ship. So Bill asks him what does he need, and Vernon tells him to wait for his call. Next, Nicole sees Eva crying in the hospital lobby, so she asks Eva, is she okay? Eva asks her, was she good at her job when she worked for her? And Nicole tells her she was brilliant, organized, efficient, and intuitive. And that was really nice of Nicole. You could tell Nicole was speaking to Eva as if she was her mother, at least the type of mother that she deserved, instead of crazy ass Cray Cray who only thinks about herself. So Eva tells Nicole that Ted offered her Cat's old position with his firm and she's scared. Next, Leslie tells Cat and Jacob she called for legal representation and that they know who will be representing her, and she lets them know that they will be getting served. So I guess that's Cray Cray's way of trying to get them off of her back. But if she's learned anything by now, she should know Black Nancy Drew is on her like a dog on a bone. She ain't never gonna let go. Next, Martin tells Vernon that Kenny cornered him in the country club locker room and wants regular payments of $100,000 and favors. So Martin tells Vernon maybe they should come clean and go public. And then Vernon lets him know that that's not even an option. Next, Jacob tells Cat the DNA test came in and it's a 97% chance it's Leslie. But he says this is not the victory lap she's been waiting for. Because Cat was getting all happy. Oh, we got her. No. Cat doesn't realize that loopholes that Leslie, little Cray Cray butt, can get through. And it's not that simple. And like Jacob tells her, it's not enough to prove that Leslie ran Laura off the road. Next, Eva tells Ted that she's ready to do the job she was hired for and she will do a better job than Cat. We'll see, Eva. We'll see. And that ends the episode.